Hello everyone, surprise, I am back, and yes, I am still doing this. Apologies for my time away, as Zoe mentioned last time, I've been ridiculously busy. But if I have had any free time, I've been throwing it right into Monster Hunter World, because if I set myself a challenge, even if it kills me, I will eventually get it done. So yes, we're going through the Monster Hunter Cull still. We are on Cull number 3, I believe now. And we still have a long way to go, but progress is being made. In the little time windows that I've had, I've been doing all of the peripheral completion stuff, so we're almost done on quests, and we've got very little to do other than the actual culls. So, if we jump right into it, for this week, it's not really a weekly show anymore, for this episode, we have not one, but two monsters, because it doesn't really make sense to do one without the other. So, we should probably see how I fare against the standard and pink Rathian. Let's see how it went this time, guys. So, the Rathian, the poison queen of the land, a personal favourite monster of mine, and in my opinion, a perfect gateway monster into the mid-tier of the game. And this is because the Rathian is really well balanced. It's a predictable monster and has very telegraphable attacks, which might sound like a bad thing, but I actually think it's a great way of training a hunter and separating the good from the bad. It's the first point you'll get to in the game where you will really get punished if you don't know what you're doing, and that's just a great way of training any hunters. In fact, the Rathian was the first monster I ever took on where I learned the entire moveset and actually took it down without getting hit once, which back in the day was actually a decent feat. Nowadays any 10-year-old can do that, but that's just because Monster Hunter World is too easy. Fight me. But yes, there are two things you need to look out for when fighting a Rathian or a pink Rathian, and that is basically the danger ends on either end of the Rathian. So firstly, the backflip attack. This is given away by a visual and an audio cue, so a couple of steps back and a odd little Rathian screech. But basically just make sure you're not stood directly in front of it, and if possible, cut that tail off, because then you can reduce any poison effect, and at least then you'll only get a big fleshy slap in the face. Secondly, you want to look out for the fireballs. Again, these are easy to avoid, but if you don't know what's coming, then you can quite easily get hit. So for a standard Rathian, if it's calm, it'll shoot one straight shot. Whereas if it's angry, it can do a triple shot, which is straight, left, then right. However, if you're fighting a pink Rathian, it can do either one of these at any time, without saying. And it can also do a giant fireball that you definitely don't want to get hit by. The advantage to this though is, while it is shooting fireballs, its head is mostly stationary, so you can get some good hits in. You can also go for the tail, because its tail arches downwards. And if you're feeling particularly brave, you can easily strafe through the fireballs and get some decent hits in that way. So now that we know what a Rathian is, and we know what it does, we should probably see what equipment I've been using, and let's see if it works. Under most normal circumstances, a sensible person would probably want to take poison resistance against a Rathian, or any other poison monster for that matter. But I'm not sensible, and I feel that the Rathian is predictable enough that it's not really necessary for you to have poison resistance. So instead I've gone for a fairly basic, fairly generic weakness exploit and critical set. And for this I've used some of the Adogron equipment from the last episode, and I've also chucked in Dante's hair and a Kulturoth chest. As much as I said I didn't want any DLC or event armor, here I am using it. So what I've got defense boost level 4 just for some general bulk. I've got critical eye level 4, weakness exploit level 3 and critical boost level 2, so that when we do hit the Rathian in the head or tail, it does a lot more criticals and they do a lot more damage. The fire resistance you see is actually just from gems, so if you would like another elemental resistance or you want any other armor skill, feel free to swap that out, and this armor set can be used on any other monster. And the stun resistance level 2 and quick sheath is just a side effect of the Kulturoth chest and the Adogron greaves. So yep, it is a fairly generic set. If you do feel like you do want poison resistance, either swap out the fire resistance or some defense boost, or swap out the defense charm or the fireproof mantle for the poison charm or immunity mantle. So it's a very variable set, it's quite flexible, but it did prove very effective. With the Rathian being so predictable and with it having so many exposed weak points, it took them out incredibly quickly, and I do enjoy this set and I have used it for many other things other than the Rathian as well since. So feel free to give it a try and let me know what you think. For this episode's weapon testing, I wanted to do something a little bit different and hopefully a bit more scientific. So what I did was I made all of the Dragonbone level 2 weapons for all weapon types, took them against the Rathian in the hopes of making a baseline for which weapons were best. And this was going very well until I got to the light bowgun, and the awful selection of ammo resulted in me mashing the Rathian in the face with my melee attack for about 35 minutes. So as much as I wanted it to be a fair test, I really don't think it was fair against the light bowgun, because I know it's not a terrible weapon. So after my preliminary experiment had failed, I freed up my weapon choices so that I could use any weapon I thought would be effective against the Rathian in order to see what I thought would be best. And this did help because using a dogger on weapons along with the weakness exploit and high affinity, I ravaged quite a few Rathians, and I think I have found my favourite weapons. Now there is a reason that I say I've picked my favourites and not my least favourites, and that's because I can't really think of any weapon that stands out as the worst weapon. I've used all of them obviously against both standard and pink Rathian, and sure there might be disadvantages somewhere, but all of the weapons are so balanced and the Rathians are so balanced that I can't pick a least favourite. Even if you're thinking a hammer or a hunting horn because it can't cut off the tails, they come with a much better advantage of being able to stun the monster and do a lot more damage that way instead. But everything balances out very well. If I were to pick favourite weapons, for the standard Rathian I'd probably go with the sword and shield. And this is because you can position yourself well for headshots and tail shots, you can stun the Rathian using your shield and jumping attacks, and you've also got the capability to use slingers while you're fighting, which means if a Rathian tries to fly away and you've got slinger bombs, you can just bring it straight back down again. So that was a lot of fun and had a lot of utility to it as well. For the pink Rathian, things are slightly different. Again, another surprising number 1, but if you've hunted with me, you know that I absolutely hate switch axes. I don't know why, it's the one weapon I can't really get on board with. But taking it against a pink Rathian, the axe mode has a lot of reach, so that you can take off the tail easily and get a lot of decent headshots in. And then the sword mode, you've got Mind's Eye, so you don't need to worry about the carapace on a pink Rathian, and you can just wail on it and do a ton of damage. So as much as I hated it for a dogger on, Switch Axe actually gets my number 1 for the pink Rathian. And every time I face a pink Rathian now, I think I probably will take the Switch Axe, because it's just a satisfying way of doing it. And who knows, maybe it'll actually give me some appreciation for a weapon that I don't like. We'll see. The makeup of Rathian equipment in Monster Hunter World is really quite beneficial for this challenge. Considering when I culled the Odogaron, I also had to take out Valhazak, Teostra, Kuluyaku and Radaban, and a lot of them. This time round, all I needed was 6 Wyvern gems and a couple of Rathalos bits, and the rest of it was all Rathian material. So it was quite easy. There was still a grind, and obviously gems cause you trouble, but at the end of the day there was very little we actually needed to do, and very little to make. We ended up making 4 full armor sets, 9 top tier weapons including 3 Kinsects, 6 fully upgraded charms, and a Palico gear. And all in all, to do that, I had to take down 72 standard Rathians and 44 pink Rathians. So it really wasn't too hard, and definitely considerably easier than last time. But we're making good progress. So even with my absence, the stats are looking pretty good. In terms of quests, I've done 127 out of 130, so I've only got 3 left. They are the most difficult ones in the game, but hopefully I can have those done by the next cull. In terms of equipment, I've got 29 full sets of armor, 53 top tier weapons, 17 fully upgraded charms, 42 full sets of Palico gear, and I've unlocked 43 trophies out of 50. By my calculations, that puts us at about 43% completion, and I'm hoping, if I can stay less busy, I can keep things to this sort of pace. So with any luck, if I keep doing double or maybe even triple episodes, we can keep this up. On the financial side of things, now that both the standard Rathian and the pink Rathian have been culled, we can sell any excess materials that I didn't use, just to see what sort of profits we get. So at the start of this episode I was at 594,000 zenny, and after selling all of the Rathian materials I've got, I'm now at 1,981,000 zenny. So it's a bigger increase than last time, and hopefully enough to buy at least a handful of augments. And as an added bonus, I am also selling a stack of life powder, over 1,000 of them in fact, for 360,000 zenny as well. So that puts us on 2,198,000 zenny, and I'll try not to spend it all at once, but with any luck, next time I see you, most of that will be gone. So that is Cull number 3 complete. I do apologise again for it taking so long to come out, but I hope to be a bit more prompt in the future. So thank you very much for watching, thank you very much for sticking with me as well if you have, and I will see you at the next episode, guys. Catch you then. See, my reasons for not liking the switch axe aren't exactly genuine anyway, because I remember back in Monster Hunter Portable 3rd, when I was using the switch axe for the first time, the only reason I couldn't use it was because I wasn't actually that good at monster hunting. And that's not really a decent excuse, and it's something I've got around now, but I still don't like it, because I hold grudges. I know. See, when I saw the Rathian armour as a female character, I was very disappointed, especially considering Rathian S from Monster Hunter Freedom Unite is one of my favourite armour sets. Huntsman's got that because he's a bastard. Male characters don't even get that, so I'm hoping if they do G rank, that's the armour I want. But then look at the female Rathian armour, and it's... even Victorians wouldn't wear this, it's fucking stupid.